Why does a religious group that makes up only 1.5% of the American population control hundreds of billions of dollars, fill seats in the United States Senate, and sit at the head of some of the largest corporations on the planet? It is not coincidence. It is not luck. It is the result of a training system so rigorous that it makes Silicon Valley look like a kindergarten. The Marriott family, the founders of JetBlue, executives at Dell, Citigroup, American Express, Goldman Sachs, the Romney dynasty. Brigham Young University produces more chief executives per capita than almost any other school in the United States, and behind every one of those names, the same fingerprint. They are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. To outsiders, it looks like the cleanest success story America has ever produced. Disciplined families, spotless suburbs, multi-generational wealth. But that success has a hidden price. A price that almost no one outside the faith dares to mention out loud. And by the end of this video, you will understand why so many former members describe the system in the exact same way. A golden machine that builds millionaires on the outside and quietly grinds people into dust on the inside. There are 3 reasons this empire works the way it does. 3 layers of pressure stacked on top of each other. The first is financial, the second is psychological, and the third is the one that explains why a state with the highest household income in the country also leads the nation in antidepressant prescriptions. Stay until the third reason, because that is where the mask falls completely. Part 1. Tithing, the price of heaven. The first layer is the most obvious and the most misunderstood. It is called tithing. In most Christian denominations, donations are voluntary. A pastor encourages giving. No one is asked for proof. In the Mormon system, the rules are written in stone. 10% of your gross income, every year, without exception, not as a suggestion, not as a guideline, as the price of entry. Without paying that 10% in full, you are denied a temple recommend. That card, signed by your bishop and your stake president, is the only document that lets you walk through the doors of an LDS temple. Without it, you cannot attend your own daughter's wedding. You cannot stand in the sealing room while she is bound to her husband for eternity. You cannot perform sacred ordinances for your dead. And according to the doctrine taught in every chapel of the church, you cannot live with your family in the highest degree of heaven. Read that sentence again, slowly. Your access to your own children, in this life and the next, is conditional on a check. Your eternity with your family is a monthly subscription plan. Miss enough payments and the doctrine itself tells you the gates close. Now look at the long-term effect of this system. Families that cannot consistently pay 10% of their gross income, year after year, fade out of full activity. They miss the weddings. They feel the silence at family gatherings. They eventually drift away. The ones who remain active across 3 or 4 generations are the ones who can afford to pay, or the ones who will sacrifice every other expense in their household to keep paying. The mathematical outcome is brutal. Over decades, the institution naturally retains the most financially productive segment of its members. The rest disappear quietly from the statistics. This is not an accusation. It is the structural reality of any system that ties spiritual access to a financial gate. And there is a second layer. Inside the community, tithing is visible. Your bishop knows. Your wife knows. Your in-laws know. If you are struggling, the leadership eventually has a conversation with you. If you are paying in full, you walk into church on Sunday with your status confirmed. Wealth becomes synonymous with worthiness. If your business is booming, it is read as proof that you are honoring your covenants. If your business is collapsing, the unspoken assumption is that something in your spiritual life must be broken. Documents filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission revealed that the church controls an investment portfolio worth more than $100 billion, managed through an entity called Ensign Peak Advisors. $100 billion. And yet, the pressure on members to keep paying only increases year after year. Why? Hold that question. But money is only the filter at the front door. What actually transforms a quiet teenager into a relentless executive happens in the 2 years that come next. And this is where the religion becomes something else entirely. A corporate boot camp wearing a tie and a name tag. Part 2. The mission. A pipeline of salvation. The second layer is behavioral. And to understand it, you need to look at one of the most efficient training systems ever designed by a private institution. The Mormon mission. At age 18 for young men and 19 for young women, hundreds of thousands of Latter-day Saints are sent into the field for what the church calls full-time missionary service. Young men serve for 2 years. Young women for 18 months. They are deployed to assigned locations anywhere in the world. They pay their own way. And the regimen they live under has almost nothing to do with traditional preaching. It is, in every structural sense, a sales pipeline. These young people are stripped of their phones, their music, their social media, their friends from home. They are allowed to call their families a limited number of times per year. They wake up before sunrise. They study scripture for 2 hours. Then they hit the street. 14-hour days. Knocking on doors. Approaching strangers on buses, in supermarkets, on park benches. Facing slammed doors, insults, mockery, the occasional spit in the face. And they are required to do all of it in a suit and tie, with a name tag pinned to their chest. Now look at what they actually learn in those 2 years. They learn how to hear the word no and smile while already thinking about the next objection. They learn how to read a stranger's face in seconds and adjust the pitch in real time. They learn that the value of another human being can be reduced to a number on a report sent by email every Monday morning at 8. Doors knocked, lessons taught, investigators committed, baptisms scheduled, numbers reported up the chain, zone leaders, district leaders, assistants to the mission president. The mission president himself. A perfect corporate hierarchy disguised in scripture. They learn how to set weekly goals and survive missing them without breaking down. They learn how to absorb constant rejection without flinching. They learn how to dress, how to shake a hand, how to look a stranger in the eye, how to deliver a complex narrative with absolute conviction even when their own faith is quietly cracking inside their chest. When that 21-year-old returns home, he walks back into civilian life with a competitive advantage that almost no college graduate possesses. He does not fear cold calls. He does not flinch at rejection. He understands hierarchy. He knows how to dress for a meeting. He can survive a 60-hour work week without complaining because he already lived through 90-hour weeks for free. This is why corporate America loves returned missionaries. Wall Street recruiters openly target Brigham Young University. Consulting firms, private equity groups, multi-level marketing companies, and life insurance giants line up to hire them. Business schools have a name for it: the Mormon Advantage. But here is the part nobody puts on the recruitment poster. The mission is not optional. It is presented as a moral obligation for every able-bodied young man. Refusing carries a deep social stigma. Coming home early carries an even deeper one. Many returned missionaries describe those 2 years as the darkest period of their lives. Some come home with crippling anxiety. Some with severe depression. Some never fully recover from what they experienced in the field. The church produces some of the most prepared young professionals in the country. That is undeniable. But the price of that preparation is a teenager deployed to a system that does not care if he breaks. It only cares if he hits the number. And once he returns, the pressure does not stop. It just changes shape. Because waiting at the front door of every ward in Utah is a third layer of pressure, the heaviest of the 3. The one that explains the prescription bottle in the kitchen drawer and the smile in the family photo on the wall. Part 3. The Utah Smile. The third layer is psychological, and it is the one that finally explains the contradiction at the heart of this entire empire. In tight-knit Mormon communities, your private life is public. The size of your house, the brand of your car, the cleanliness of your lawn, the obedience of your children, the calling your husband holds in the bishopric, the activity level of your wife in the Relief Society. All of it is visible. All of it is read. All of it is interpreted as a direct reflection of your spiritual standing before God. If your finances are struggling, the unspoken assumption is that something is wrong with your faith. If your marriage is fragile, people assume you stopped paying tithing, or stopped reading scripture, or stopped attending the temple. If your teenage son leaves the church, neighbors whisper that you must have failed as a parent. There is always a spiritual diagnosis waiting for any visible imperfection in your life. This creates a phenomenon researchers have started calling the Utah Smile. The facade of perfect happiness, perfect family, perfect prosperity. The polished smile in every ward photo. The cheerful greeting in every grocery store aisle. And behind that smile, more often than the official statistics will admit, a bottle of prescription antidepressants in the bathroom cabinet. The numbers are uncomfortable. Utah has consistently ranked among the highest states in the country for antidepressant consumption per capita. The state struggles with opioid abuse. Suicide rates among young men have climbed for years. Anxiety disorders among women in their 30s and 40s are widely undertreated, Because asking for help in a Mormon community is interpreted, however quietly, as confessing spiritual failure. The mother who is silently drowning in postpartum depression keeps smiling through sacrament meeting, because the alternative is to let the ward see her crack. The father working 2 jobs to keep his tithing current keeps telling his bishop that everything is fine, because the alternative is to be seen as unfaithful. The teenager who no longer believes a single word of what he was raised on keeps wearing the tie and serving the mission, because the alternative is to break his mother's heart in front of the entire extended family. The obsession with success is not really about money. Money is just the most measurable form of proof. Proof that you are obedient. Proof that you are blessed. Proof that you are still inside the covenant. The bigger the house, the louder the message. I am worthy. I am righteous. I am still one of you. Please do not look any closer. Now bring it back to the question from the beginning. Why does an institution with $100 billion portfolio keep tightening the pressure on its members to pay? Because the pressure is the product. The financial demand, the missionary deployment, the social performance. They are not 3 separate forces. They are 3 sides of the same machine, a machine that produces some of the most disciplined, financially capable individuals in the modern world, and at the same time, some of the most exhausted, anxious, and silently broken families in America. Heaven has a price. The price is your peace. The Mormon Church has built an undeniable empire. Institutionally, it controls one of the largest religious investment portfolios on the planet. Individually, its members occupy positions of power in business, politics, and finance that vastly outweigh their numerical presence in the United States population. The methods work. The results are visible in every Fortune 500 boardroom. That part is real. That part deserves to be acknowledged. But every empire has a cost, and the cost of this one is paid in private. It is paid by the father working 2 jobs to keep his tithing current. It is paid by the 19-year-old crying in a foreign apartment because he missed his baptism quota again. It is paid by the mother smiling through Sunday school while a prescription bottle sits in her purse. It is paid in the silence of a teenager who learned to perform faith long before he learned to question it. The line between spiritual devotion and corporate performance has been blurred for so long that, for many members, it no longer exists. You are driven to succeed because the alternative is to look unworthy. Unworthy in the eyes of your bishop, unworthy in the eyes of your in-laws, unworthy in the eyes of your own children, and according to the doctrine you were raised on, unworthy in the eyes of God Himself. So the system works, undeniably. The wealth is real. The discipline is real. The empire is real. But the question that remains, the one nobody inside the chapel will ask out loud, is this. Would you trade your peace of mind for the guaranteed success of this empire? The cost of tithing is 10%. The cost of perfection might be your soul. This is the Mormon Files. If this investigation made you see something you had not seen before, leave one word in the comments, worthy or trapped. We are reading every single one. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next investigation goes straight into the financial structure behind Ensign Peak and the $100 billion almost no member of the church has ever seen. See you on the next file.